We are live. Hi everyone, welcome back to Code Era. Today in this video, we'll be discussing the Leetcode daily challenge for today. That is 21st of Feb. The name of the problem is majority element. So please give me a quick +1 in the chat if my voice is clearly audible to everyone and the screen is visible, so that we can start with this problem as early as possible. Also, let me know in the comments how many of you have solved the problem for today, so that I can understand what was your approach for solving this problem. For solving this particular problem that we have been given today, we have a total of 4 approaches, so I'll be telling you each one of them in detail. So you can give me a quick +1 in the chat if my voice is clearly audible to everyone and the screen is visible, and then we'll start with this question, right? So the name of the problem for today is majority element. The name of the problem is majority element, and previously this problem has been asked in a lot of organizations. Like, it has been asked in Microsoft, it has been asked in Amazon, it has been asked in Google, it has also been asked in Meta, it has been asked in ByteDance, which is the parent company of TikTok. So a lot of good companies have asked it. Apart from this, Adobe has also asked this, and PayPal has also asked this question, right? So a lot of companies have asked this question. So please give me a quick +1 in the chat if my voice is clearly audible to everyone and the screen is visible, so that we can start with this particular problem as soon as possible, right? Okay, so I'll just wait for a couple of minutes for everyone else to join, because then we can start with this problem. So in this particular problem, what we have to do is, we'll be given an array of elements, right? We'll be given an array, let's say ARR of elements, and what will be there will be a total of n elements, right? There will be a total of n elements in the array, and what we have to do is, we have to find the majority element. Now, what is the definition of a majority element for this question? They are saying that if you are given an array of size n, so you have to return the majority element. Now, a majority element in this particular array is the element that appears in this particular array more than n by 2 number of times, right? Hi Lalit. So a majority element is an element in the array which is occurring more than n by 2 times. Like, if I talk about this particular array, that is, let's say, if I talk about 3, 2 and 3, right? So what is the value of n? The value of n is nothing but 3, right? The value of n is 3. Now here they are saying that majority element is an element which appears more than n by 2 times. So what is n by 2? N by 2 is nothing but 1, right? N by 2 is nothing but 1. Element again appearing more than once is this element 3. So 3 is the majority element, right? Because 3 is occurring the most number of times in this particular given array. I hope that you have understood this part. Now, if I'll similarly take another case, so let me write another case for you. So let's say if we had a case like we had several 5s, like 5 5 5, and then let's say we had an element like 1 1 1, right? If this was the array that was given to us, I'll just erase this part. Okay, so if this was the array that was given to us and 1, right? If there were several 5s and several 1s given, so in this particular array, what is the majority element? I can say that, okay, n is equal to 7, right? So for n is equal to 7, I can say that 7 by 2 will be nothing but 3. So I want that element which is occurring more than 3 times. So which is that element? Only one element can occur more than n by 2 times, right? So this is the element, that is 1 is occurring 4 times, right? So it is occurring more than 3 times. It can occur any number of times greater than 3, right? So I can see that, okay, 1 is the majority element in this particular case, right? I hope that this makes sense to everybody, right? So bro, I saw your solution, easy peasy, but sorting is order of n time. No, sorting is n log n, because sorting you have to do n log n, right? Sorting takes n log n time, so that's why sorting will not be order of n, right? So what you have to find, you can assume that the majority element is always existing, and you have to find the majority element in this case, right? So what you can do is, if you are given an array, like, let's suppose that I have given you some array. Let's say it is something like 1, then 2, then let's say 3, and then let's say there are several number of ones there, right? Okay, this is the case, right? Let's suppose that this is the case. So here the value of n is 7 and n by 2 is nothing but 3. So that means element occurring greater than 3 times, right? Element occurring more than 3 times. So I can definitely say that 1 is that particular element which is occurring that number of times, right? So what I can do is I can say that, okay, I'll assume that, okay, every element can be a majority element, right? Let's suppose that I am at this particular element. So I'll assume that this particular element is the majority element, and I'll do what, I'll count this particular element. So what I can do is I can first of all stay here and then check what are the total number of occurrences for this particular element, like in every array, right, in every element. Like similarly what I can do is I can mark my index here, I can mark my index at this 2, and I can run through this particular array for every index and check what is the count of 2. Then again I can run for 3, I can run for 3 this particular element, I can run for all the indexes, and I can check what is the count of 3 in this particular given array, right? So what I can do is I can run a nested loop very easily, and I can count that what is the total number of occurrence for the ith element, and if that ith element is occurring more than n by 2 number of times, in that case I will say that okay, it is the majority element. How will I do this? So what I'll be doing is, if I wrote the brute force approach, I'm just telling you for the understanding purpose, I will start from 0, I is lesser than n, I plus plus, and then what I would do is I will mark my count as 0, right? Then what I'll do is I'll simply say that okay, for my j starts from 0, j is lesser than n, and I'll do j plus plus because I'll be checking for each index. So what I'll do is, yes, brute force will be order of n square. So if my a of I is equal to a of j, assume that the array name is this, so I'll do a count plus plus, right? And once I have counted through this particular array, so what I'll do is, once this particular loop is over, right, once this loop is over, so what I'll do is I'll check that if my count is greater than count of this particular element is greater than n by 2, in that case I'll simply return a of I, right? So you can easily see that okay, this particular loop is taking order of n time, and there is a nested loop inside it which is taking order of n time as well. So since both of the loops are lying inside each other, so that's why it will be order of n square. Time complexity would be order of n square, and the space complexity would be order of 1 for this particular approach. Now there's one more approach for solving this particular problem. How I can do this? So let's assume that I'm given these values, right? Let's say I've given 1, 2, 3, and then I've been given several ones, right? So what I can easily say for this particular case is, let's say let me write the original this case. So if this is the particular case that's been given to me, so n value, if the count is greater, count is greater than n by 2, in that case you will do, right? So what I can say is n value is here 7, right? So what is n by 2? I can easily say that, I hope that everything is working fine, right? Okay, right. So now next step what I can say is, what is n by 2? N by 2 is nothing but 3. So I need occurrences of that element which is greater than this, right? So what I can do is I can think of a sorting approach as well. What if I sort this particular element, right? So this particular given array a, right? So if I sort this particular array, so what will it become? It will become something like this: 1, 1, 1, 1, then 2 and 3, like this, right? Now what is n by 2? What is n by 2? I can very easily say that n by 2 is nothing but the third index, right? If n is equal to 7, then n by 2 is nothing but 3. So if I do the indexing part, so let's say this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So which is the element that is present at the index 3? The element which is present at the index 3 is nothing but this, right? I'll be telling you 2 more approaches after this particular approach is over, right? So I can easily say that okay, this is the part, right? Here I can see that okay, at n by 2, at a of n by 2, this particular element, whichever element is occurring, that will be my majority element. Why? Because if an element is occurring more than n by 2 times, right, I am assuming that the majority element is doing what? Majority element is occurring more than n by 2 times, right? More than n by 2 times. So if it is occurring more than n by 2 times, so when I will sort it, so the middle element of this particular array will be the majority element. Why? Because it is occurring more than n by 2 times. How? Let me give you another example. So let's say if this was the test case 2, 1, 3, and if n value here was given to me like 3, right? So n by 2 will be nothing but 1, right? So I can very easily say that I'll sort it. So if I sort it, so this will be looking like this. Then what is a of n by 2? What is a of n by 2? A of 1, that is nothing but this element, and I can easily say that okay, this is my majority element, right? Now it can either happen, right? If the majority element is of a greater value, so the later part of the array will be occupied by it, right? If suppose that there are some elements in the array, right? So it might happen that it can occur this much part in the later half of the array, or it might also happen that the majority element can occur in the starting of the array from the till the middle index, or even after the middle index, from the starting it can occur, right? If it is the smallest element, right? So is this much part clear to everybody? I hope that it is clear to everyone. Please like the video and give me a quick +1 in the chat if you guys have understood this much part. That is how we are finding the majority element, right? So if you want, I can draw another test case for you. Let's say that if it was 1, 1, 1, let's say if I had an element like 2 and let's say if I had, let's say, some number of 5, 5 and 5, right? So here also like let me take one more case. So let's say we had something like we had something like, let's say 5 again, right? So if this was the element, so it is sorted actually. So n value is what? N value is 8. So n by 4 is what? N by 4 is nothing but 2. N by 2 is nothing but 4, right? N by 2 is nothing but 4 here. So n by 2, what is n by 2? N by 2 is nothing but 4. So what is a of 4? If I do the index power 0, 1, 2, then this is 3, this is 4, this is 5, this is 6, this is 7. So you can always observe this, that if an element is occurring more than n by 2 times, right? If an element is occurring more than n by 2 times, so it will be always present at the middle index. So in that case, I can directly return the n by 2 or the middle element, right? Because that will be the majority element. And for doing this, since I'm using the concept of sorting, so it will take n log n time and order of one space, right? Now there's one another approach. There's this third approach for doing this particular problem. All of you can hit the like button and give me a +1 in the chat if you have understood up till now, and I hope that the voice is also clear. Okay, right. So now let's come back to this question. So let's assume that this was 1, 2, 3. I'm taking the same case again and again so that I don't have like we can understand this case better. So let's say if this was what? N was nothing but here 7, right? So what is n by 2? N by 2 is nothing but 3. So I want an element which is occurring more than 3 number of times, right? So in this case, what I can do is I can very easily say that this one is occurring more than that time, right? What I can do is I can easily do the concept of hashing, right? Whenever you feel stuck, you can always apply the concept of hashing, right? You can do hashing with a map or you can do it with a vector if the elements are in a lot of range. Since here what is happening is here if I will show you, so here the concept, here the thing is that the element is occurring in a lot of range, right? The element can be between -2 to the power 31. If the element was occurring in a particular range, then you could have declared an array and you could have stored the frequencies, but there are negative elements as well, so that is why you will require a map or a hash map in Java or a similar data structure in any other language. So what you can do is you can store all the frequencies of every element in a map, and then you can iterate through the keys of the map, and whichever element is occurring more than n by 2 number of times, in that case you will say that okay, that is the element which is the majority element of the array. How I can say this? So let's say I am drawing a hash map, right? So if I have the hash map, so every time I'm incrementing the frequency. So if I have 1 is occurring how many number of times? 4 number of times, right? I'll increment the every time, so maybe I can show it for you. So 1 is occurring 1 time, right? I'm here, then I'm here. So 2 is occurring 1 time, then what is happening? 3 is occurring 1 time, so I'll say okay, 3 is occurring 1 time. Then this particular element 1 is occurring, so 1, I'll increase the count of 1 by 2, 1 to 2. Then what will happen? I'll come to this particular index. When I come to this index, then what is the situation with 1? The situation is 1 is that its count will increase, so its count will increase to 3. Then I'll move to the last index, so I'll move to this index, and then the frequency of 1 will be increased to 4, right? Then what I'll do is I'll iterate through the keys of the map, right? Iterate through keys of map, right? Keys in the map. So I'll iterate through the keys in the map, right? And what are the keys? Keys is nothing but 1, 2 and 3. So I'll check that which particular key is having more frequency. So if I will say that okay, this particular map, this particular index, so this particular element is occurring more number of times, right? 1 is occurring 4 number of times, so I'll directly return 1 from it, right? I'll directly return 1 because 1 will be the majority element, because it is occurring more than n by 2 number of times. It can occur any number of times greater than n by 2, and that will be satisfied, right? That will satisfy the question. Now for doing this, you will increase the space complexity as well. Why? Because you will take order of n time, right? And also you can say that okay, hash map will take order of n time complexity, but still you need to say order of n log n, because in the worst case you don't want to use unordered map, because in that case if you are trying to find it, you use collections dot frequency. Yes, something like this. You can say I am using a hash map. If you Lalit, if you are using Java, so you can say that I am using a hash map and I am counting the frequency every time of every element, and then I am iterating through the keys, that is the element, and whichever element is occurring greater than n by 2 number of times, in that case I am directly printing that particular element. Let me show you what I am saying. So let me show you first of all the sorting code. So sorting code is nothing but I have been given the nums array, so I sorted, and then what I do is I simply do this part, that is I return the nums of nums dot size divided by 2, that is the element occurring in the middle. Now if I am using the concept of this particular approach, that is map, so what I am doing is I am incrementing the frequency in the map. That what I am doing is if a particular element is present more than n by 2 number of times, in that case I am storing in my answer, I am breaking, and I am simply returning it, right? Instead of breaking, I could have returned here as well. So this is what I am doing here. I hope that you guys have understood this part, right? So we have up till now we have discussed 3 approaches. One was a brute force approach, another was n log n, another was a hash map approach, right? So up till now what we have done is we have discussed order of n square approach. That was a brute force approach, right? That was a brute force approach. Another approach could have been using the concept of sorting, because in sorting what we can do is we can directly return a of n by 2, that is the middle element, if the array is sorted, and then the middle element would be the majority element. Another approach, as I told you, was the concept of the hash map which we used, right? So whichever element is occurring more than n by 2 number of times, I'll directly print it. So I know only Java, you are great expert in Java. Yes, like Java, in Java you will be doing it using hash map, Lalit. Okay, so guys, you can hit the like button if you have understood up till now. Now there's one more algorithm that we need to discuss, right? So I guess it is called as Morse algo, right? I have given the name in the description, so it is known as Morse voting algorithm. So I'll write it for you. Sorry if I'm pronouncing it in the wrong way. So what is this Morse voting algorithm, right? So what I can say is, if I have been given a particular array, right? Let's say if I have been given a particular array, let's say I've been given elements like this. Let's say I've been given 1, then I've been given 2, then I've been given, let's say 2 again, then 1, 1 and 1 and 1, right? If this is what has been given to me, I'm taking again the same kind of an example. So if n value is 1 2 3 4 7, right? N value is 7, so I can say that n by 2 will be nothing but 3. So that means that an element occurring more than 3 times will be the majority element here, right? So now what I can easily say is, I can use the concept of Morse algorithm. Why? Because what I'll be doing is I'll be doing the concept of, first of all, let's talk about the concept, right? Let's talk about the concept. Let's talk about the concept, and the concept is pretty much based on the concept of what you can say, cancellation, right? What does this mean? So if I have this one, right, so I can cancel it with other element, right? I'll not be cancelling the same element with the same element. I'll try to cancel it, like I'm trying to show what is the intuition behind it. So what happens, this one gets cancelled with 2, then what happens, this one gets cancelled with 2. Now which is the element that is left? I can easily observe that, okay, this particular element is left, right? This is the element that is left, and what is this element? This element is all ones, right? So this is the majority element. How? Let me take another example, a better example that we can say. Let me see if the example has been given here in this particular test case. So what they are saying is, if this is occurring, so right, so I'll let you know. Possibly I can take one of the examples as, let's say if I have some number of 4s, right? Let's say if I have some number of 4s. I hope that up till now things are clear to everyone. You can give me a quick +1 in the chat if everything is clear to everyone, right? So assume that there are several number of 4s, or what I can say is, let me do it in a more generalized manner so that we can understand it better. Let's say it's an array of 1s and 4s. So if I have this particular array, then what I have is again another 4, then 1 1 1, and this can be one of the majority elements, right? So 4 is occurring 3 number of times. Okay, right. So here I can see, easily observe that 1 is the majority element here, because 1 is occurring 5 number of times, whereas 4 is occurring 3 number of times, right? So you can easily observe this. So what I can say is, I can cancel this 4 with this 4, right? I can cancel the different elements together. So I can cancel this 4 with this 4, this 1 with this 4, right? Different elements I'm trying to cancel. Then I'm cancelling this 4 this with this one. So which is the element left? I can say that, okay, since the majority element is occurring more than n by 2 number of times, right? So if I cancel opposite elements, if I cancel non-equal elements, then in that case the majority element would be left. Why? Because let's say if there was another case, let's say if I had been given an array, like if in the case, let's say n was equal to 9, let's take a better case. So if let's say n was 9, I'm writing it. So let's say if there were several number of 4s, 4, then 4, and then let's say there were 1, and then let's say there was 2, and assume that there were few more ones, so 1 1 1 and 1, right? If it was something like this, so in that case what I can easily observe is the n value is 9, so that is why the n by 2 value will be nothing but 4. So I need an element which is occurring more than 4 number of times, so that is nothing but the element 1, because 1 is occurring 5 number of times. But what I can say is, I can say that what is the thing that's happening. I can say that, okay, 4 is occurring 2 number of times. I want you to understand the intuition behind the algorithm, because writing the algorithm would be very easy, but I want you to understand why this works, right? So 4 is occurring 2 number of times. 1 is what is the situation with 2? So this element 2 is occurring 2 number of times, and this element 1 is occurring 5 number of times, right? So what I do is, if I combine these two occurrences, so I can say that total combined 4 and 2 are occurring total 4 number of times, right? And 1 is occurring 5 number of times. So that means that if I cancel all the like 4, I cancel 4 with 1, 4 with 1, then I cancel this 2 with this one, this 2 with this one. So one of the ones is left, right? One of the ones is left. I can say that all other different elements are occurring 4 number of times total, right? 2 plus 2 4. That is, this 4 is occurring 2 times and 2 is occurring 2 times. So total 4 times it both of them are combinedly occurring, and one is occurring 5 number of times, that is what I can say, that one extra one would be left. And if it is occurring more than n by 2 number of times, so that is what I want, that is what I am saying, that majority element will be the element which is occurring more than n by 2 number of times, right? So that is why what will happen, I'll say that okay, 1 is the majority element, so whichever element is left after the cancellations, so that will be the majority element, right? So all the other elements aside and the highest frequency element aside, if I am cancelling them, then in that case whichever is the majority element, it will be left, right? Is this much part clear to everybody? Please give me a +1 in the chat if up till now things are clear to you guys, right? Is this much part clear to everybody? Just let me know in the chat. Let me know in the chat a little quick, a real in the real quick time, just let me know so that we can proceed further with this particular question, right? Okay, so now let me do this part. So I'll just erase this part so that you can understand it better. So that means that I need an element which is occurring more than 4 number of times. That is what I want, the majority element. You can write clear in the chat if you have understood the intuition what I'm trying to do, right? So what I'm saying is, initially you will say that okay, you will assume every time you will assume that okay, this could be the majority element, this could be the majority element, right? You will try to assume that okay, this is my majority element. Initially you might think that okay, 4 is my majority element. Then what will happen, right? What will happen is till here the occurrences of 4 is 1, right? Till here the occurrences of 4 is 2, right? Then what will happen, this particular element I will see, right? So 4 is occurring 2 number of times here, right? 4 is occurring 2 number of times. Then here I'll encounter 1 with 2 number of times. So that is why these two will cancel each other, right? These two will cancel each other. So that is what I'm saying. I'll say that okay, these two cancel each other, so this part I will not be considering, right? Any of these elements I will not be considering. Then what will happen, I'll say that okay, 2 is occurring 2 number of times, so maybe 2 can be my majority element, right? But then what I'll see is I'll here encounter that okay, there are 2 number of ones there present as well, so that is why these two 2's and these two 1's will get cancelled. Then what will happen, this 1 is occurring one more number of times, so I'll say that okay, this might be my majority element. Then in the end, since this will be stored as the majority element and this particular element will not get cancelled with any other element, so that is why this will be my majority element. Please give me a +1 in the chat if you have understood this question, the intuition behind the question, because many people I know that they are telling you the approach or the algorithm, but they don't tell you the intuition, the feel behind this algorithm, like why do you do it at the first place, right? Because if I can see that okay, 4 is occurring 2 number of times, so I'll say that okay, I'll store it in my element, I'll maybe assume this to be the majority element and I'll store its count. So I'll say that okay, 4 is occurring 2 number of times. Then what I'll say is once I come to this one, right? Once I come to this one, so I'll say that okay, I need to cancel one of the occurrences of 4. So I'll say that okay, now the occurrences of 4 is only 1, right? Then I come to this particular one. Once I come to this one, so what happens is I come to this one and I observe that okay, there is another occurrences of a different element compared to 1, so 4's occurrence would become 0, right? So that's why what will happen, I'll say okay, now that's the thing. Now what will happen, I'll come to this particular element. Once I come to this element, so I'll say that okay, this element is occurring. So I'll say that okay, this can be my majority element. So I'll say okay, 2 is occurring 1 time. Then I'll say that okay, 2 is occurring 2 times because I'll come here, right? Then what will happen, I come to this one. So 1 is different than 2. So I'll say that okay, one of the 2's will get cancelled. So 2's occurrence will become 1, right? Only 2 will exist. Then I'll come to this particular one. Once I come to this particular one, what will I say? I'll say that okay, 2's occurrence is 0. So now I'll say that okay, that's the thing that's happening. So now I'll say that okay, 2 is no longer going to be my majority element. Then I'll come to this particular element and I can see that it is not 2, so it is a different element, and I'll say that okay, let's assume that maybe this element can be my majority element. So I'll assume 1 to be my majority element, and after this I'll come out of the loop. So that means I've iterated through all the elements, and now in the majority element 1 is stored and 1 is occurring 1 number of times. So that means that all the other occurrences of 1 has got cancelled, and this 1 is occurring the largest majority element is occurring greater than n by 2 times. So if I'm cancelling the majority element occurrences with every other element, in that case if it is occurring a major number of times, so in that case it is the only element that will survive till the end. Please hit the like button and give me a +1 in the chat if you have understood this much part, right? I hope that you guys have understood it. Now in this case what I'll do is I'll run a basic algorithm. I hope that you have understood the intuition. So what I'll be doing is let me just erase this part so that I can make you understand a little better. So what I'll do is I'll be at this, initially I'll have this index, right? So I'll say that okay, my majority element, I'll say that okay, what is my majority element? So I'll store it initially I'll assume that okay, this first element is going to be my majority element, so I'll say that okay, my majority element is nothing but 4, and I'll mark its count as equal to 1, right? I'll mark its count as 1. Then what will happen, I'll start the iteration from this particular index, the first index, right? So this is the 0th index, this is the first index, so I'll start my iteration from this particular index. So initially I'll mark my majority element as nothing but nums of 0, right, or a of 0, you can say whatever, right? And I'll mark my count as 1. Then what I'll do, I'll move to this index. So if it is same, right, so I'll be starting in a loop. So let me write it, what I'll be doing in a loop, basically. So what I'll be doing is, I'll be doing it like this: for I starts from 1, that is the second element, right, this element, assuming a 0 based indexing. So I is 1, I is lesser than n, I plus plus, this is what I would do. And what I'll do is, if my current nums of I, if the current element is equal to the majority element that I have thought up till now, right, the majority element that I'm assuming. So if this element 4 is equal to 4, if that is the case, so in that case what I'll do is, I'll do a count plus plus, right? I'll do a count plus plus. Why? Because I'll increase its frequency. So I can see that okay, this element 4 is occurring again, so I'll say okay, the count increases to 2, right? Otherwise I'll come to the else part. In the else part, what I'll say is, if that is not the case, right, if that is not the case, so if that is not the case, so if I come to this particular element, right, so let me come to this element, just give me a second. So what I'll say is, if I come to this element, right, if I come to this one, so I can say that the majority element I am considering as 4, and this element is another element. So I come to the else part, so I'll do count minus minus. So that's why what will happen, the count of 4 will decrease to 1, right, it will decrease to 1. Then what will happen, I'll come to this element, and I can say that okay, this majority element is 4, the ith element is 1, so that's why I'll decrease its frequency once again, force frequency, so it will come out to 0, right? Then what will happen, then there's a trick, right? How will I come to this part, like how will I change it to 2, right? How will I change the consideration of the maximum element to 2, right? So what I'll do here is, I can easily observe that my count is 0, right? Now what will happen, I come to this particular element, right? I come to this particular element. What do I see at this particular element? At this particular element, I can see that okay, this is the element that is occurring, right? So I'll say that okay, up till now I had assumed the majority element to be this, something like this and that, right? But what is happening is, basically I can say that this is a new element occurring. So I'll show you how I've written the code here a little bit, so that you can understand in terms of code as well. So that is what I'm saying, that initially I'll have the n is equal to nothing but the array dot size or nums dot size. Then the majority element I'm assuming as the very first element or the 0th index element. I'm marking my count as 1. Then what I'm doing is, if the nums of I is equal to the majority element that I've assumed up till now, so I'll do count plus plus. Otherwise I'll do a count minus minus. Now if the count is equal to 1, right, if the count is equal to 0, if the count is equal to 0, in that case I need to update myself. Why do I need to update myself? Because what will happen is, if the count is equal to 0, right, so in that case I need to say that okay, I need to change the majority element. So now you can say that okay, what is the count? Now the count is 0, right, because the force count is 0. So what will I say? I'll say that okay, I need to make the count as 1, so I'll make my count as equal to 1, right? I'll make the count as 1, and I'll say that okay, now I'll assume that the majority element is nothing but 2, right? I'll say that okay, the majority element is 2. Now what I'll do is, I'll come to this particular index, right? When I come to this index, I can see there's a 2, so the majority element that and the ith element are same, so that's why I'll do the count, I'll increase the count of 2 by 1, so it will the count will increase to 2, right? This is what will happen. Now what will happen is, I'll come to this particular element, so it is 1, so it's not the same as the majority element, so I'll decrease its count, so its count will become 1. Then I'll come to this particular one, so it's not, the majority element is 2 and the ith element is 1, so that's why I'll decrease its frequency, so its frequency would become 0. Then what will happen, in the majority element I'll be storing this particular element, that is you can say 1, I'll store, and its count would increment to 1, right? Then what will happen after this, I'll come to this particular index and I would have ended the loop. So in the end what will happen, the majority element will get stored in my majority variable, right? In my majority variable I can see that okay, the majority element is present. And why is this the majority element? Because I've cancelled the occurrences, right? I can say that okay, this 4 is cancelled with this one, this 4 is cancelled with this one, then this 2 is cancelled with this one, this 2 is cancelled with this one, and then only this one is left, right? So why is this the majority element? Because it must have been occurring more than n by 2 number of times. That is why that is why cancelling it with every other element, since it is occurring more than n by 2 number of times, so that is why it is the majority element, and that is why it is surviving till the end. So that is how the Morse voting algorithm, this particular algorithm, is working. And the time complexity for this particular algorithm, I'll tell you. So the time complexity for this particular algorithm is order of n, and the space complexity for this algorithm is nothing but order of 1, right? So please hit the like button and give me a plus 1 in the chat if you've understood till now, right? Have you guys understood it? How I am doing this? Why am I doing this? Right? So I'll show you the code part once again for this particular problem. As I said, I'll store n, then I'll initially assume that okay, the very first element, that is the 0 index element, will be my majority element. I'll mark my count as 1. If the ith element is equal to the majority element, right, I'll start the iteration from the first index, that is the second element. If the ith element is equal to the majority element, in that case I'll do the count plus plus, else I'll do the count minus minus, as I told you, right? Then if the count becomes 0, if the count becomes 0, that means the element that I was assuming as the majority element is no longer the majority element, and I need to mark the ith element as the majority element, right? Thanks sir for the explanation. I really like your explanation, so I'm watching it live today. Thank you Abhay Sonu, thanks a lot, it means a lot. Okay, so this is what I'm trying to explain. Now majority is equal to nums of I, so I'll say okay, now since the count has become 0, so the majority elements count has become 0, so I need to update the majority element with the ith as the ith element, right? Once I'm done with this part, what I'll do is, so I'll mark my count as 1, and if again, whenever I find that the majority element counts becomes 0, so I'll update my majority element, I'll mark its count as 1. In the end, I'll simply return the majority element, because that is the element that will be occurring more than n by 2 number of times, so that is the element that will be stored in my array, right? So this was the Leetcode daily challenge for today, and I have told you 4 approaches about it, right? I have told you 4 different approaches to solve this particular problem. Just give me a second, I'll give you a brief summary of this particular session. So what we have done is, first approach was a brute force approach, right? Brute force approach, order of n square approach, that is counting the frequency of each element standing at a particular I and checking for all the occurrences of that particular element in the array, so that will take order of n into n, that is n square time. The second approach that I told you was the sorting approach, because if the majority element is occurring more than n by 2 number of times, in that case the middle element a of n by 2 or nums of n by 2 will be the maximum element, right? Now there is a third approach, as I told you, that is the hash map approach, right? But in the hash map approach, what is there? The order of n space complexity is there, right? So that's the issue. Now this fourth approach, that is Morse voting algorithm. So for this algorithm, I have told you very basic, right? I have told you the intuition for using this algorithm. I have told you the intuition. I have told you the code. I have told you the implementation, and I have told you the dry run for this, right? So this is how I have taken a test case, and I have told you the dry run. So just make sure to hit the like button, because it motivates me to bring more detailed quality video editorials for you guys, because that's how it's done, right? So is order of n, yes, order of 1 space, right? It's order of 1 space and order of n time. So order of n time and order of 1 space, right? So that's what it is. Now, as I told you, this particular problem has been asked, as I told you, like, let me just make some space. So this particular problem has been asked in a lot of organizations. It has been asked in Amazon, it has been asked in Microsoft, it has been asked in Google. Apart from this, it has been asked in Facebook as well, or you can say Meta. It has been asked in PayPal as well. Apart from this, it has been asked in Adobe, and it has been asked in ByteDance. ByteDance is the parent company of TikTok. So a lot of companies have asked this particular question. I guess Goldman Sachs has also asked this question. So a lot of companies, I guess Apple has also asked this question. So these are the companies that have asked this question. So that was it for today. In case if you did like the video, if you are watching the recording, if you did like the explanation, detailed explanation, make sure to hit the like button and make sure to comment down below, like if you have done this. And once you go and submit this particular problem, so come down after this video is over and comment down that I have submitted this problem for today, right? So that will motivate me to bring more such quality tutorials. And you can see, right, you can see my graph. This is my graph for February, my calendar for Feb. Like you can see, like I have solved each and every problem of the day that is there, right? Each and every Leetcode daily challenge I have solved. So that is what I'm saying. You guys should also try to achieve this part, right? You can see in the previous month also, in the month of January also, you can see that I have done it a lot, right? And for this particular month also, I have done it a lot. So I have been doing it consistently since the 37 days regularly. So that is something that I will suggest you to do as well. 20 days in this month, 21 days in this month, and like previously a lot. From the 13th of Jan, we are doing it regularly. So that is something that I motivate you to do as well. In case if you did like this channel, then what you can do is you can hit the subscribe button. We are very close to 2k subscribers, so make sure to hit the right button. And thanks a lot everyone for watching. I'll see you soon in the next live. Till then, you can write the comment after this video is over, right? So thanks a lot everyone for watching this video. I'll see you soon.